This is Les Lucs-sur-Boulogne, in western France. It's a calm, sleepy place, typical of thousands of rural French villages. But 200 years ago, in the year 1794, something happened here so terrible, it's hard even to imagine.
Picture this place, surrounded by a hostile army. Picture the villagers cowering, taking refuge in the church. Picture the village priest heading out to plead with the soldiers.
They cut off his tongue, they cut out his heart. And then the soldiers massacred the entire population. Afterwards, one of the soldiers described it as a tiring day, but fruitful. 564 bodies, and no one left to bury them.
The soldiers were troops of the French Republican Guard, soldiers of the Revolution, and the villagers were killed because they opposed the revolution, a revolution they hadn't asked for and didn't want.
But how unusual was this opposition? Were these villagers here the exception or the rule? How much did ordinary French people support the revolution?
In France in 1789, 85% of the population lived in small, rural communities. Largely cut off from the hurly-burly of the cities, they tended to be quiet, God-fearing people, wrapped up in their own affairs, proud of their traditions. Imagine how they felt when news of the revolution spread outwards from Paris.
Excited, maybe? But also nervous, fearful of change.
In theory, this revolution was for them. It would rid them of privileged aristocrats who'd lived off their labour for too long.
But not everyone saw the nobility as the enemy. For some, the nobility represented the old France, the France of tradition and order. And the revolution hit this old France like a whirlwind, attacking all they held dear. First, it attacked the church. From 1791, all priests and bishops had to make an oath to the state. Those that refused were forced out and replaced by new priests, constitutional priests, unknown and distrusted by the locals. This is how one group of villagers reacted.
We have been robbed. Why are they sending us constitutional priests? These are not the ones who stood at the deathbeds of our fathers, and they should not be blessing our children.
Next, the revolution attacked the king. In 1793, Louis XVI was executed. The peasants had said prayers for this man every week in church. He was their monarch appointed by God. In whose name did the revolutionaries put him to death? Not theirs.
And as the wars became more serious, the revolutionary government introduced conscription. All young men had to leave their homes and families and join the army. For many in provincial France, it was the last straw. They thought, if we have to risk our lives, let's do it for a cause we believe in.
And so uprisings against the revolution broke out. In Marseille, in Lyon, in Bordeaux, and in Caen, people began to fight back. But it was here in the Vendee, the region around Les Lucs, where the uprisings were most significant.
From 1791, groups of Vendéans were using the countryside to launch surprise attacks against the National Guard. By the spring of 1793, the rebels were organised into an army, the Grand Catholic and Royal Army. They dressed in smocks or rough coats. They armed themselves with shotguns, pistols, muskets or tools. They conquered one town after another. They even set up a rival government.
But Paris wasn't going to take this lying down, and so a revolutionary army was sent to the Vendee with a chilling brief.
You are authorized to use terror wherever you see fit, whether it is burning the principal rebel towns or executing troublesome peasants to bring the region to order.
Faced with large numbers of well-armed, disciplined troops, the Vendeans suffered one defeat after another. By early 1794, it was all over. The Grand Army had collapsed, the survivors forced to hide out in the woods.
But that's when the revolution took its revenge. The Revolutionary Army, organised into so-called death columns, attacked towns and villages, killing everyone they found. They used bullets, they used guillotines, and they invented what they called mockingly the patriotic baptism, chaining prisoners to barges and then sinking them in the river. As one Republican official put it,
"These bandits complained they were dying of hunger, but they can't complain they were dying of thirst."
In all, it's said 250,000 Vendeans were killed during the revolt and in the aftermath. Near the village of Les Lucs, there's now a memorial to those who died. And the people here still haven't forgotten.
I was raised in a Vendean family, so for us, when our grandparents used to tell stories about this part of history, we were children, we were very sad. It was like family's history. So we try now to explain to the people who come to Vendee, just look and try to understand why we don't want to forget what happened here.